If you're trying to predict the market right now, I'd keep my eye on two data points: interest rates and inventory. Inventory goes up significantly, has to go up significantly now for prices to start to be impacted because it's still so low. And interest rates, right now, what are interest rates? In the high sixes, mid sixes?
They're lower than they were.
If sometime in 2023, my prediction would be if we see rates in the mid fives again, a lot of buyers are going to re-emerge back into the market, which could have an impact on pricing on the upward side.
In the December 2022 Market Report episode of the SLO County Real Estate Podcast with Hal Swayze, the team takes a look at the dangers of comparing statistics from 2021 and 2022 and how they just don't line up. Despite what you hear, the outlook is good for many SLO County homeowners and those who are brave enough to enter into the market. Also, the team has some pretty cool news at the end of the podcast, so make sure you listen all the way through. Now, with the December 2022 Market Report, here's Team Swayze and your host, James Bueno.
Welcome, everybody, back to the SLO County Real Estate with Hal Swayze podcast. Hal Swayze, how you doing, sir?
I'm great, James. Thank you.
It's just me and you today, Hal. It's
we keep losing the guys that
losing everybody.
They couldn't take it.
Jay's gone today, and
right.
What was the other guy's name that was with us before?
I don't know, but I can usually smell him when he's coming, but I don't know where he is.
JT, I'm totally joking. Everybody, the return of JT. Let's give him a hand, Mr.
Right.
Mr. Turner is back.
I've never
just messing with you, John.
Right now.
The way I was treated while I was gone, I think I have to come back just to defend myself and maybe even a little revenge.
Oh yeah. So this was going to be the JT's Revenge podcast, but it is December, so we need to do a market update. JT, we're excited to have you back. We're super pumped that you're here today. You're back from vacation.
Well, the first couple podcasts that I missed, it was because of COVID, so I'm glad that's over.
Yeah, we try to keep that quiet, but Hal let the cat out of the bag.
But to be honest with you, would I choose to be here or back in Tahiti? I think Tahiti. Well, sorry guys, don't take it personally.
We should have sent Mr. Kingman. We should have sent him a microphone in Tahiti. He could have did an off location podcast.
Yeah.
That's what everybody wants to do when they're on vacation.
Yeah,
talking to a microphone.
All our slander of you is out of jealousy, John.
It was a little.
Yeah, we were just jealous.
We have some new things to talk about this month, Hal, finally. So let's get going.
Well, of course, it's always interesting for us because we're in the middle of it. So, we'll talk about some things that we do on our video once a month as well. But we're seeing a continuing trend in the marketplace in terms of what's happening with the Fed and interest rates and the impact. So if we just kind of jump into the numbers, the inventory is definitely higher this month over the same time a year ago, which John's going to just hit me in the head because I think, one, going back a year and using that as your basis is probably not a good idea. And two, the jump was so big this month. I went back and looked at last year and I said November last year, at the end of November, was an incredibly low inventory month for one of the lowest inventory low years we've ever had.
Right.
Last year, this time, there were like 169 homes on the market. Now we're at 315.
Do you have the month-to-month numbers?
Our actual inventory is just actually down a little bit from last month. Okay. Yeah, I don't have that number
just by a few. JT,
yeah,
so
month over month there's less homes for sale, which is reflective of the people just don't have that many choices. Welcome to San Luis Obispo County.
Not only is it down month over month, but just watching the numbers in the first week of December every morning, it's down since the first of the month.
Right.
So we still have less houses coming on the market than we have leaving the market.
But we are getting houses sold, so.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we put a couple in escrow this week, but we have, we had a certain number, like 105 properties going to escrow and 95 came on the market. So those homes going to escrow, 105 more than the ones coming on the market. And a lot of people this time of year decide to pull their homes off the market. In general, we're going to talk about this term that John Turner and I saw in a financial magazine called gridlock. John, you want to talk about what that means?
The gridlock was sellers wanting the prices and the easy sales with multiple offers of 9, 12, 15 months ago.
Yep, first part of the year.
And the problem with that is, interest rates through a cold blanket on a hot market, and we don't have as many buyers. Buyers have lost purchasing power. So it's created this gridlock where we don't have as many sales transactions. Not as many people are transacting on either side right now.
Right. So just real quick, define gridlock for me in one word.
Suppressed.
Okay. JT?
Slow.
So I'm thinking stuck. Is that correct?
People are waiting. So the sellers are going, oh, I'll wait for a better offer. And the buyers are saying, well, I'm going to wait for a better price. We don't know which way that battle is going to go.
Gotcha. Okay.
A lot of it will be determined by interest rates for sure.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, I would say if you're trying to predict the market, and everybody's trying to, whether you're an expert or not,
yeah.
you know, if you're trying to predict the market right now, I'd keep my eye on 2 data points, and Hal just said them: interest rates and inventory.
Right.
You know, if inventory goes up significantly, it has to go up significantly now for prices to start to be impacted because it's still so low, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And interest rates, you know, right now, what are interest rates in the high 6s, mid 6s?
Yeah, depending on the day, they're lower than they were.
Yeah, they're a little bit lower than they were a few weeks ago. And if sometime in 2023, my prediction would be if we see rates in the mid 5s again, you know, a lot of buyers are going to re-emerge back into the market, which could have an impact on pricing, you know, up on the upward side.
We need sellers to emerge.
Yeah, and that's part of the gridlock. Part of it being, and we've talked about this, I think, before. But if you've got a 3% mortgage on your house and you want to go buy another house, and now I'm paying 6.5%,
right?
That has a big impact on what you can afford, the kind of house you can get. So a lot of people are going to elect to stay in their homes, which happens, and that happens also because of the way property tax used to be. It's like, oh my gosh, I got this low tax rate. If I sell my house and go get another house, I'm going to lose that. It's going to cost me more money, so they don't sell. So that's the new definition of a rate lock. I'm locked into my house because of my rate, instead of locking my rate trying to buy a house.
In 2007, 8, you know, which a lot of people are trying to compare today because they think more is going to happen in terms of a market bubble bursting,
right,
or whatever term they want to use.
Right.
And the issue back in those days is we didn't have enough buyers, and now we don't have enough sellers. So when you look at all the data points, there's really no comparison of that era to today.
What gets you out of that gridlock, JT? You're on the 405. You've been in it for 30 minutes. You got another 2 hours to go, 15 miles. What gets you out?
I'm going to get ticked off and get off on a side street.
I'm looking.
Well, I don't think that's a fair analogy for gridlock, because that's talking about you have a fixed area of space for these cars to get moving through, right? So it's just right now, it's more of, maybe it should be called a standoff. If you want to sell in today's market and you've got a decent buyer, you need to be, what's that word you love to use, JT?
Compromise.
You need to compromise, right? And for a long time, sellers didn't have to compromise. But I think we used a reference point, and I'll bring it back up. I think it was one of the last podcasts. This house in Avila we talked about that came on the market and sold with 3 offers before it hit the market. That property has since closed, and so that was probably close to 30 days ago. And that property is on the market in 2016 for 299 days. It didn't sell, and now it sells in 3 days. And it was listed for 2,250, and it just closed for $2,450,000.
Wow.
Okay, so what does that tell me? You know, we just do not have the same supply of houses, and our point of reference, the market feels bad compared to what it was recently. So what'll get the gridlock going? Well, I remember we had one of our lenders in here the other day goes, I remember when we did cartwheels when we got mortgages down under 8%. So it's the improvement that will release the gridlock. People feel more confident. Okay, I'm getting a better rate. I'm going to grab it while I can. Gosh, I missed my opportunity. Now I got it back. So instead of coulda, shoulda, woulda, I'm going to jump in. Sellers going, okay, it seems like a good time. I'm comfortable with my job or whatever's happening in my life. You know, so it's confidence for sure, and improvement, the trajectory of the market.
Yeah, I was sharing this story with someone this week who was, I would describe this person as fearful about the conditions of today's market. And I said to him, I said, you know, think back to, had you been a purchaser in 2007, you bought a property at what was then, I laugh when I say this, the top of the market. because I don't believe that we've ever seen a top of the market. The top of the market for me is the day I die, probably. That'll be my top of the market. But you bought a property in 2007 and you woke up a year later and your property was down in value by 20%. Probably felt like, oh, yeah, typical me. I bought a property and it went down, right?
Right.
You know, how stupid can I be? Why didn't I wait, right? And then how'd they feel in 2012? Oh, man, I'm vindicated.
Yeah.
I'm validated.
Of course.
Man, I did good.
Right.
And how'd they feel in 2022? I'm a freaking genius.
Right.
Look how I did. Look, Mom. Look, Dad. Look how smart I am.
Yeah.
He's not here today, but Jay has said this at least a half dozen times on these episodes of the podcast. Mentioned when he bought, he felt dumb. And then 5 years later, he was totally vindicated. Now he feels like a genius.
I moved back to San Luis Obispo in 1995. I was trying to find a good real estate agent and was referred to one, and it wasn't House Swayze.
Probably for good reason.
You hadn't started. No, you were barely starting.
Were you born in 85 yet?
95. No, I've been in the business 4 years. I knew everything.
Okay. So anyway, I came to town, moved back from Orange County, and I was going to buy a house, and my budget was in the mid-4s. And we couldn't find anything that my wife wanted, and we found something in the mid-5s. So I bought a house that I couldn't afford. It was in a down market. So sure enough, 6 months after I bought this house that I knew I couldn't afford, it was worth less than I paid for it.
Yep.
And I'm going, oh yeah, stupid me. What the heck was I doing? And then I started thinking, let's see. It was in the school district that we wanted. It was the house that she wanted. It had an extra bedroom where we could have guests. It had a huge yard on the side of Bishop's Peak where the kids could play, and I could have a big barbecue. It had a view across to Cal Poly. We looked right up at Bishop's Peak. Did any of those things have anything to do with money? So I think sometimes when we talk about the market, we get so wound up in the numbers. And most people are buying houses. They're motivated by reasons much deeper than money, aren't we?
Yep.
It's about family and kids and security and safety. I wonder if the best time to buy real estate isn't always yesterday, and the second best time isn't always today.
Well, and people, I got friends that I talk to, and this is such a special place to live, and we all love it and we know it. But even when you're here, there's just not that many neighborhoods. So I want to be in this neighborhood. Well, great. Like my neighborhood, there's nothing for sale. I don't think it was in for sale for 6-12 months. And if it is, it's either old or too big. And then when it shows up, people jump all over it. A little downtown house with a guest unit sold. Our buyer paid, I don't know, $1,850,000 for the place. Right. So you just don't know. And this is as good a place to be anchored in, I think, as any. But I think, too, people don't even realize, like, if you evaluate investment property, right, how much, I'm going to get some rent. I'm going to get some income off that. I do have some expenses. But people never even calculate the fact that every month somebody's paying your principal down for you. Mm-hmm. Right. And then it brought up the fun joke. It's like, well, somebody's going to pay that mortgage. It's either the tenant, is it you, or is it the owner when you're living there? And for a potential buyer that's a tenant, you go, okay, well, that mortgage is getting paid. Unfortunately, you're paying for it, but you're paying it down for the owners. Right. So not that everybody should be buying a house, but that's one thing that people look at when they don't look at, when it comes to home ownership. And it's a big deal. It's a big deal paying down that equity every month, right? Yeah. Paying down that mortgage and getting more equity each and every month makes a big difference.
I brought this form to the table today, and I was looking at housing prices. Since 1960, how many years? That's 62 years, if I do my math right.
You're right.
Yeah. How many of those 62 years, how many years did housing prices go down? And how many years did housing prices go up?
I'm going to say 5. 5 years it went down.
I'm going to say, I'm going to guess, let's say at least 12 to 15 out of 62.
9.
Wow. You're gonna split the
9 years.
Split the
Yeah, out of 62. Median sales price of a household in the United States was about 30 grand in 1960, and it's almost 400 grand today.
Wow. So this is U.S. numbers, not slow.
Yeah, just U.S. numbers.
Yeah.
So 15% of the years, the prices go down. 85% of the years, prices go up. And we have a number of people now that are fearful of what?
Prices going down.
Prices going down. And so if you went to Vegas and you went to the roulette table and red showed up 85% of the time and black showed up 15% of the time, would you ever put your money on black?
Never.
No.
Never.
No.
Now, black is going to show up. And, if it shows up 15% of the time, you got a chance that it could show up the first year you own a house, right?
Right.
And it could show up the second year you own a house.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what if you multiply 0.15 times 0.15 times 0.15, you get less than 1%. That's what happened in 7 and 8. We had 3 years in a row of prices going down. The chances of that happening are less than 1%. And what do people call that? A once in a century event. And so I guess I'm coaching all those people that are listening. If you have a fear of our market, just look at history. And has anybody ever bought a house that didn't have a little bit of fear during the transaction?
No, probably not.
No. I've never bought a property where I can tell you I was 100% sure that I was making the right move.
I'm buying a car right now. I've had fear about it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's SLO County. It's a huge investment. I mean,
of course.
You can't buy anything less for $800,000.
Fear is part of the buying equation.
Yeah.
But we also have to look we have to look someplace to feel that safety that it's going to turn out okay. I don't care when you buy a house, you're going to be okay as long as we do what, James?
Time in the market.
Time in the market.
People focus on that 9%. Is that the number of years? It's like, I did this thing one time and I did it 1,000 times and there was a problem. But the one time I did it wrong, and that's what sticks in your head.
Of course.
And, you coach volleyball.
Yeah.
If they think about the one time they didn't hit the ball the way they wanted, they'd never get anything done.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
Yeah, hey, we play sports, and if that's what you're focusing on, so at the end of the day, if that's what you're focusing on, 1, you're going to get it, right? 2, you're going to live the experience even though it hasn't happened. And 3, guess what? You're going to miss sometimes. But if you keep swinging, and you don't have to swing when you own a house, you just don't do anything. You stay in it. Again, we're all very bullish on real estate. I think that's clear.
For sure.
We just have to help people with understanding the process. And then what's the good fit for them, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think we have good reason to be bullish.
Of course.
I've owned 5 residential properties, my own home. I lost money on one of them. But the reason I lost money is because I sold in a down market and I had to sell then because we were moving here. But I also bought a house here in the down market.
Yeah.
So, I could make an argument that once, if we're just talking about not investment property, but your own personal residence,
sure, that
once you get into your first one, should you really care whether prices go up or down? No.
90% of millionaires, billionaires become millionaires or billionaires from what?
Well, real estate. I think the most, We've got a great client right now that has a wonderful house with a guest house on it, and she built the guest unit for her brother who needed help to stay in, and then for her mother, and they both got their own place now, and now she's selling that to support them, and she's used this home to basically help pay for the care of her family. I mean, without that, those people would have been on their own. So 1, good for her for doing what she's doing. 2, she's done it for quite some time. And 3, they all benefit from it. So you can't only improve your own situation, it allows you to improve other people's situations. So that wasn't going to happen without that piece of real estate, without that home. And now she's scaling down and using the money for her own residence and to help support other people. So in general, I mean, it's a place to live, but it can mean a lot more. And I think that's what John's pointing out as well.
I had a question for you, Hal, just quickly. You'd said, the 2 determining factors are going to be inventory and interest rates. In your experience, and John, you too, which is likely to happen here? Inventory increases before interest rates go down? I mean, which is going to happen first?
it's not going to be inventory. I mean, the only way to increase inventory is new home construction, and we don't have that much, and it's expensive and costly to build. So,
I mean, in theory, wouldn't the construction be affordable for the construction companies if the interest rates come down?
Yeah, there's a certain amount of affordability, but just the cost of holding the property is expensive. Mm-hmm. I mean, a guy, I don't want to go off a tangent, but there's a guy downtown bought 5 cool little bungalows, and he was trying to allow to have second lots on those bungalows so there would be some more housing there. And it took him an extra year to do it. And this conversation was about a year ago. And I go, well, good for you. The prices are way up. He goes, no, my costs are up. I'm going to lose money. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to lose money. The houses are going to cost more. I'm going to sell them for more because that's where the market is. So who loses? Well, the consumer. So it's just hard to build. So inventory is not going to be the big rise. And again, what John refers to in 2008, 2009, they had people buying houses that had no business getting the loans. Mm-hmm. They were adjustable rate loans that were going to change. They didn't have the income to support them, right? And they had no skin in the game. Right now, we have the biggest equity position nationwide we've ever had. People have more equity than they've ever had. Okay. What's the joke about the foreclosure? Well, the story of the foreclosures you told me the other day.
Yeah, so many of us rely on guess who for our real estate information. Our brother-in-law who always knows so much about real
proverbial
estate.
brother-in-law.
Proverbial brother-in-law.
Yeah.
And so the joke is the brother-in-law goes to you and says, "Hey, do you know that foreclosures are up 95% year over year? So the market is just hitting the skids." Guess what happened during COVID?
No foreclosures.
No foreclosures. So now there was one foreclosure in 2022, and they're up 95%. And, the market's crashing. And, I read an article, local article recently that said prices in San Luis Obispo County real estate are coming down. And as you read the article, they said, 45% of the houses that closed in November closed it under the asking price. So prices must be coming down. What's the second half of that they didn't print?
Yeah, exactly.
55%.
Yeah.
55% are at list price or above.
Yeah.
Come on, man, you're killing me.
It's all how they present it. And just, to let everybody know, all these numbers we're given, these are facts. These are actual stats that we are pulling up. This is not our guesses.
Assuming our resources are giving us good numbers. They're facts.
I mean, we search these, and there could be some variance, but at the end of the day, it's all what you're comparing it to.
We're not pulling these numbers from TMZ.
We like that 2016 comparison we looked at, because that one house that was on the market 299 days and then was on 0 days this year. Then we look at all the marketplaces, and basically prices are up 20 to 70% from 2016. Days on the market are lower now than they were then. And the number of homes is way below what it was in 2016, which was a great market. It's the context and the trajectory that people worry about. And the slowdown has been extreme. 20, 30 offers on a house, you get used to that. Now there's 1 or 2, or maybe not one for a month or 2, which is normal. Then people go into panic mode. And that's a normal market.
Just as I'm thinking, let's, Mr. Kingman, let's do another podcast where we're doing local numbers, like we did Paso and Morro Bay. That was a super popular podcast for us. So we're giving pricing. Let's do that in a couple of weeks, maybe the first of the year.
Yeah.
I think that was probably one of our most popular podcasts. People listening to, they want to know what their neighborhood values are. So we'll do a neighborhoods podcast.
Yep.
JT missed that one, so
that sounds great.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Real estate's local.
Last 2 things. One, Hal, next week on our podcast, we have a visitor, an attorney's coming to visit us on the podcast, right?
Ed Atala is going to join us, and lifelong resident, San Luis Obispo County, great attorney. My attorney, referred him tons of people. The importance of making sure your property, in most cases, is in a trust.
Okay.
Yeah, because the last thing you want to do if you're a property owner and you have family that would benefit from that property, you want to go somewhere when you pass away, is to have it go through the probate process, which is costly, expensive, out of your control, versus being able to pick how it happens and speed the process up, and don't leave your family in the lurch by not doing that.
It's all stuff nobody likes to talk about.
Yeah. But we made it fun. We're going to make it fun.
I'm sure it'll be a blast.
It's going to be a blast.
Yeah. That subject is very, very exciting on the day you realize you didn't do it right.
Right.
Or did do it right.
Well, you won't notice it if you did do it right, because then it won't be exciting, because it'll just go so smoothly you won't notice.
Right.
So you're talking
you didn't do it right.
The wrong kind of exciting.
That day is going to be very, very exciting for you or your heirs.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's our next podcast. That's awesome. And then last, Hal, as always, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you, us, and what we have available for them.
Yeah, probably the easiest way to reach us is we've got a great team. We're all here to answer the phone, so just call the office at 805-781-3750. And I think we got an accolade. Can you share that?
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about the podcast.
Yeah.
First off, we have to thank everybody that listens to our podcast. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Not just San Luis Obispo County, but everybody that's listening, obviously, across the country. We've hit a milestone. I think we're in the top 100, correct, Mr. Kingman?
Yeah, top 100 of business-related podcasts.
Yeah, so out of 101, we are 99. No, I'm joking. We've been doing pretty good. So
there are thousands of...
millions. Wow. Now, not all of them are business podcasts, and
right.
to fit that niche of a business podcast, and then to be a real estate podcast in a market with 300,000 people, that really whittles it down and funnels it down.
We're going to have to practice our autograph signing.
It's not us. It's Hal. Everybody loves Hal. He's the man.
Okay. Hal, practice.
Although I think I'm going to change our logo a little bit, Hal, and make it a little bit more fun instead of the basic.
No, I'm just shaking my
rock star makeup.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, let's put you on some 80s rock star. Okay. All right, everybody. No, seriously, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to our stuff, and our listen to rate's pretty good. Listen through rate is really good.
What does that mean?
That's we're giving good information.
They're not turning you off.
They're not shutting off our podcast when they first listen to it. So they love JT's voice.
Yeah.
So that's a plus.
If the audience can't tell, we love getting together and doing this, and we love doing it because we're being told that it's bringing value to the community.
Yeah, and
thank you for that feedback.
How this thing started, obviously Jeff came and talked to us, but we just sit and have these conversations normally. So throw mics in front of us and let's chat. And that's how we're running this thing. So
everybody loves to talk about real estate.
We do. Yeah.
I mean, not just people who are in the business.
Sure.
Everybody wants to talk about it, learn about it, hear about it.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't own a home, what do you want to do?
You want to
buy a home. Yeah.
You want to buy a home.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to have a place to live.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you. We'll see you next week. Ed will be here. I'm super excited. Another great podcast. As always, Hal, thank you so much. JT, we're glad you're back. Next time you go into Tahiti, we are all going with you.
I'm in.
All right. See you, everybody. Thanks.
Happy holidays.
Thank you for listening to the Hal Swayze podcast. Be sure to subscribe and rate this podcast. It comes out every Monday, so check for it in your feed for the latest information on the San Luis Obispo County market. The Slow County Real Estate with Hal Swayze podcast is available wherever you get your podcast and on halswayze.com, where you can find current listings and other real estate tips. halswayze.com, that's HALSWEASEY.com. I am James Bueno, Director of Marketing for the Hal Swayze Group. If you're looking for anything real estate, give us a call, 805-781-3750.
Hal Swayze is a licensed California real estate broker. DRE number 01111-911. The Slow County Real Estate with Hal Swayze podcast is a production of AGM Podcasts. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.